Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Today we meet on the lands of the Duwamish, Suquamish, and Muckleshoot nations and other Coast Salish peoples, past and present. The staff, board, and artists of Jack Straw Cultural Center acknowledge that we're living, creating, working, and playing on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle and the Salish Sea, and we honor them and the land itself with deep gratitude. Thank you all for being here with us. My name is Levi. I manage the artist residency programs at Jack Straw. One of those is the writers program, and it's always a treat to kick off the public part of the program with our series of readings here. For the past 4-ish months, the writers have been hard at work writing, training, socializing, both via Zoom and in real life. And it's really exciting to get to see them read their work here, and for me to be a small part of that. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here if you're joining online. In either case, you're welcome to join us in person or online for the next 2 Fridays here at Jack Straw. It's always a blast. And these writers will be out in the community over the course of the year. This is our first public event, but actually we have 3 events at Folklife Festival this year. Strongly recommend checking those out. It will be not just reading, but also conversation, Q&A, hopefully no heckling, but you know, you're welcome to
Don't worry, I'm gonna take care of it.
you're welcome to ask questions. And you'll be part of the Folklife Festival, which is always a great time. And we also have a music showcase on the Sunday night at Folklife, so you can really make a Jack Straw time of it. And then many more events over the course of the year, including, I believe we'll be doing something in Bellingham, so stay tuned for that. We got a couple of Bellinghamsters this year. I do want to thank our funders, the organizations who make this and our other residency programs happen. The U District Partnership, Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, For Culture, Washington State Arts Commission, National Endowment for the Arts, Arts Fund, Lester and Phyllis Epstein Foundation, and of course our individual contributors. Thank you very much. Whatever level you're able to give, it helps make this happen. And yeah, just thanks for being here and enjoy. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our curator this year, Priscilla Long, and she'll take it from there.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, all of you. So the writer Emily Bernard, you know her, fabulous writer, she said, tellers need listeners. So all of us are tellers at times and listeners at times. So thank you for being listeners tonight, and including those that are coming in on Facebook and YouTube. And especially thank you to Jack Straw and to Joan Rabinowitz and Levi Fuller and all the coaches and the engineers for providing this intense and wonderful shelter for creative work. So our first poet is Garfield Hilson. He is originally from South Florida, but now, lucky for us, he's here in Seattle. Hopefully will never leave. He is a Black queer poet and educator working in Seattle. He believes in trauma-informed social justice healing, and that art and education are the building blocks to achieve this. Garfield imagines that being Black and queer is nothing if not a study in silence. So he writes to reclaim the language that was stolen from him, to empower others, and to push imaginations to craft a better now. Garfield is a Seattle Poetry Slam Grand Slam champion, a Rain City Slam Grand Slam champion, a 5-time Seattle Poetry Slam national team member, and he's appeared in Rising Up Queer, Social Justice Play, and Dear White People. And so please welcome Garfield Hilson.
Thank you, Priscilla, for being so wonderful, kind, Funny. I don't know if people give you funny enough, but they should. And for introducing me. I am very excited to be here. It has been a very long time since I've actually like read. So what I will say is please be gentle. And if you're not going to be gentle, that's on you and your values. I also want to say hi to the people who are live streaming tonight. So my name is Garfield Hilson. My pronouns are he and him. I also want to welcome everybody into the space tonight. I know it's going to be really tense for the folks who are reading up here tonight. I like to believe that this is like my living room and you are all my family. So fam, let's just get into some poems, okay? The first poem I'm going to read tonight is called Lesson Learned, Shoes. There were lessons that my mother only taught my sister. There's no way she could know that I would need them too. Behind the closed door in my sister's room, they would speak, and I would sneak. Ear pressed against the closet wall separating me and my sister's rooms, listening to secrets, to baking, to sweeping, to my mother's fear of flying. See, certain sections, certain lessons I missed because my father was too concerned with teaching me football and statistics. But every now and then, me and that wall would share secrets, secrets not intended for me. Mama's voice would say, sometimes it comes down light, barely at all, baby. Sometimes it's heavy and thick. But in order to avoid catastrophe, every woman must know how she loves and how it flows out of her. See, these were the lessons she taught. Tools she gave my sister to Novocaine, the hostile terrain of testosterone and love. She said that women are the only exploited group in history to be idealized into powerlessness. So beware any man that tries to idolize you. Today, they are walking. Mom, sis, and well, I kind of linger behind. Unencumbered by my presence, they speak in sentences about the essence of the world and the way that it is. My mom elbows my sis and says, baby, look at the size of his feet. My sister, her eyes shocked and horrified. Mom smiles but says, some men will not tread lightly. They will walk all over you. Take the soft parts of you as dirt for them just to crush into and as their doormats. The dirt in their souls crushing holes in yours. So walking behind in a man's footsteps and shadow, it turns hearts cold. So baby, beware. Remember what I told you last time about a man's appetite. A man's stomach tells you what he eats, but a man's shoes tells you what he thinks. Me and my sister repeat, synchronized to an unknown beat. My sister, seated next to my mother on the other side of the wall, me listening from the outside of their conversation. To the right was a vent that when it was opened, allowed words to flow out heavy and thick. I figured I could like step out and vent it, but it felt safer here. To marvel over the mysteries of things that I heard through that divide of a wall, mutterings of things not even intended for me. Mama's voice would say, the placement of feet set apart tells he was heavy as a babe, and probably used them to balance. If now thin, then he either revels in his own vanity or knows how the pressure of life can round shoulders and shape steps. So he will be more understanding. If he only wears the newest, that means he has money, right? No, baby. That means money has him. His mind will always be on the materialistic, on the game, on the gain, on the part he feels he must play. My father outside beckoned, boy, put some shoes on and come on. Staring at my shoes, I looked for hours, trying to decide which man I would be. He called again and I just gave up, walked away to football, statistics. One day while my father was away, Mom and I tossed his football. Barefoot, running, catching, we both laughing. She smiled and said, you know, baby, if you come out the closet and vent, it'll be better. Impossible, like triple knotted shoelaces unraveling. These lessons, there's no way she could know, right, that I needed them too. She said, you can tell a man by his shoes. Barefoot, I felt naked, ashamed, embarrassed. She reached over the divide between us and hugged me and said, every woman must know how she loves and how it flows out of her. And her love? was heavy and thick, deep and unconditional. And that's one lesson I'll never forget. Thanks, Mom. Oh, the fun poem, yay. This next poem is called How to Make Gods Laugh. Before he committed suicide, Jonathan said, "For black men, self-care is as foreign as respect." And I, sports reference, car joke, music anecdote, unaccustomed to the unbundled cotton of this, our conversation. 'Cause black don't crack. We black man and laugh. Laugh like the punchline we are. Laugh as the fire dances, the moth to ash, full-bellied and loud. We let the tears juggle, down, gather. The sound surrounding us pulls silver, swells a middle passage between this moment and the next, and we laugh, laugh, till our tears, our worlds, everything, oceans around us, Christ, Buddha, Allah, the Orisha, they all laugh at the absurdity of it, a world that could ever hold such an ocean. They say, if you want to make gods laugh, say you have plans. Jonathan never told me what he was planning. Instead, he told me a joke to make us laugh. Oh, thank you. This next poem is called Preparation. My 6-year-old niece is playing Pokemon Go. Gets herself lost in the mall for 2 hours. When we find her, we do the respectable thing and whoop that ass. And I know what you're thinking. Who the hell gives a 6-year-old a cell phone to play Pokemon Go? And why didn't she call? Why didn't she answer when we call? A woman walking by notices me and my sister spanking my niece and says, "This is just the sticky residue of slavery." Tells us that we should free ourselves so my niece can have a childhood. And I know what you're thinking. Who the fuck is she? And doesn't she know that if you spare the rod, don't you soil our children into the graveyard that they want them to become? See, me and my sister know this, like how we all know the old proverb, it takes a village to raise our children to the top of someone's timeline, to be the next face on a protest sign, to make her start trending as if she's suddenly relevant, as if we did not love her enough. So no, you do not get my niece's name, take it out of your mouth. Hashtag this black girl survives to the end. So yes, she's gonna get these hands as lesson plans to teach her all that we know. How to slave, how to behave, how to die in little ways so she can live, my God, maybe just a little bit longer. And we'll teach her the truth, that if you're a woman, black, or queer, how this world has no space for you. And if you love yourself just a little too much, how it will do its damnedest to tear you out of your own frame. And isn't this the thing that you're all thinking? The truth that we all know and will not say. And the truth, my friends, is this. When we found her, we didn't spank her. How could we? Instead, we hugged her and cried, as if we were pouring all of our lost childhood back into her, and wished that there was more that we can give her besides tears. Because there's a proverb that says, if you're not preparing your children for the battle ahead, are you not killing them yourself? So every time I kiss my niece on her forehead, It's like I'm saying, I love you, and rest in peace. And this last poem, my friends, is called Monsters. This is for the monsters, for those for whom the human condition is a prison, so our lives have been Frankensteined, twisted and knotted into these, the horror movies we live. It's for those who know that these bodies are just, well, costumes, and every day is Halloween. It's for those strange, weird, grotesque parts of ourselves, for the queer. So this is for you. You who must feed off of blood like love too are swimming in pain, using bottles as anchors to hold you down, or your lovers' bodies as buoys to keep you afloat. Cheers to you, the cold ones, the vampires, for lips biting back the bitterness of this world. See, we are more than just feeding. We're sucking out the venom of shame, poisoning the hearts of our lovers. We're healing them while poisoning ourselves. So yes, we are martyrs, resurrecting ourselves nightly and daily. And yes, Bella, we sparkle. Because in this life of endless night, a little glitter is all the armor you need. Ask any drag queen. So tonight is our night. Let the bloodletting begin. Dracula it up and drink in the love of this room. Cheers. Here's to you. And here's to those who know that pronouns are never strong enough to sound our rejection of gender. Because weak nouns like he and she could never define the strength found in the me of our we. See, this world sometimes is just a prison of boxes, coffins too small to fit all of the beautiful parts of yourself, even your identities, so they make you cut and saw off those weird and luscious parts of yourself. Slice away, hack, hide, hoard the real you. So this is for the cutters, the werewolves hiding among us. Your skin a cage keeping the beast at bay. Only the bloodletting of silver tames the howling in your soul. Words are bullets to you, ricocheting, summoning the moon like shame in your stomach, forcing you to cut your hair, lower your voice, or bleach your skin just to fit in. Tonight, I say to you, lay down your weapons and embrace your inner demon. You are not empty. Stop trying to cut and shovel into yourself. Can't you see? Some beasts were never meant to be domesticated. So unbutton this pain dressed as flesh and toss it into the night. Transform, blade this night, because it is for you. This is also for those who have nothing left, are walking dead, possessed by oppression and twisted in pain, so they move through this life with dead eyes, head down, always trying not to try or cry. This is for those zombies, mummies, silent, sitting out there tonight. Your lives are not graveyards. We see you, because this poem, this is a seance, a chain letter to break the chains and pain of shame of just living, because we are more than the creatures stuffed into the attics of their minds or hidden under their beds. We are the things that they fear, the things they warn their children about. So I say, let's show them our spider bites and fangs, free ourselves of the oppressions of labels and names, because y'all, we are beautiful. So for the first time ever, I say, let's take off these masks and marvel at our monstrosity, because this night is for us. So go ahead, my pretties, take off your masks, claim this night, and howl. Ow! Y'all are dope. Thank you.
Woo! So, thank you. That was great. Jerry Gale is a novelist, a poet, and visual artist. Her award-winning books include, oh, I should lift this one first, In the Closet, a triad, and this is a fabulous, it's a deep, engaging novel about making art and other things. That includes Thelonious Monk, Diane Arbus, and Emily Dickinson. And Patrice Pomella also exquisite work of art. And then she's also written Alex the Double Rescue Dog, and she's written waiting prose poems, and she's written many, many other things. And her prose poetry and drawings have appeared in various magazines. She is a Moth Story Slam winner who performed in the Moth Seattle Grand Slam. And on Instagram, you can go to Instagram, and 60 readers read her novel In the Closet, this novel, from their very own closets. And I was very proud to be one of them. So please welcome Jerry Gale.
Well, okay, Priscilla, thank you. It's such an honor to be curated by you, and I feel that you created the best ever house of Jack Straw. So thank you. And Garfield, absolutely gorgeous voice. Thank you so much. Okay, so I haven't been out in the world, so I'm not sure how to behave, but going to try. Little louder. Okay, yeah, shout out whatever you need from me, please. So, my name is Jerry Gale, and I'm a multi-hyphenated artist. And call me queer, but when the pandemic came, everyone said, don't write a fucking memoir. And what did I do? I wrote a memoir. And it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid of PK stories and breast cancer notes and poems, and there are 100 black ink drawings and a few photographs. And so tonight I'm going to read excerpts from my memoir, which is called PK, Cancer, and the Tragic Ruts of Time. Prologue. This is a memoir about a Jewish and Japanese American lesbian love story of 45 years. It is about breast cancer and how two queer women in an interracial relationship endured the medical and emotional complexity of cancer alongside the tragic ruts of time: anti-Semitism, racism, sexism, homophobia, AIDS, climate change, COVID-19, and aging. It is about survival via love and adversity. I found the lump on my left breast and had a mammogram. The doctor told me I had breast cancer on December 6, 2012, the day that Seattle issued the same-sex marriage licenses. PK and I got marriage license number 357. We had been together 34 fucking years. When PK helped and nursed me during my breast cancer, the idea of writing about her emerged, but she is a very, very, very private person, and writing exclusively about her just would never fly. So I began to write about us. I wrote about our love, our commitment, and our queerness. In the beginning, this is a poem titled Once Upon a Time. My mother carried me home into my own room, a world of wonder. I met my brother, the childhood. I played with the twins. Two neighbor boys loved me. Both traded seashells for my love. We loved and lived in Cranford on a circle. There was a cider-making place nearby. I remember kindergarten art classes. I sat in a small chair, made wax pictures with fallen orange and ochre leaves, and ate crayons. The schoolhood. We moved to a house on a semicircle. My mother saw our Cranford home burn down on a black and white TV. A yellow school bus picked me and my brother up. The bus driver's name was Richie. He gave me a red-laced Valentine. There was a circle of kids, the neighborhood. We played hide and seek, ran through, hid, threw dirt balls at each other. One boy was blinded. He left in an ambulance. A man committed suicide outside my window. He hanged himself from a tree. He fell, a stake driven through his head. I always come back to the story. A stranger killed himself behind my home, the backyard. My poet friend Mikey said he chose you so you would find him. I never knew his name. He was the man who committed suicide, killing oneself. Whenever there is a suicide, I think of him. I think how he taught me to stay alive. The childhood, the schoolhood, the neighborhood, the backyard. For years, I thought I was deficient, my words inferior, my thoughts pedestrian. But then I wrote this once upon a time, this poem, this childhood, schoolhood, neighborhood, backyard poem. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm just going to tell you all that the Trevor Project talks about the high rate of suicide among the LGBTQ community. And they say that the suicide is not because of our identity or not because of our sexuality. It is because we are stigmatized by society and our families. And this has got to stop. What's happening in Florida, don't say gay. What's happening to anti-trans bills in Tennessee, in Ohio, in Montana. I can't name all the states. This needs to stop. It is inhumane. Brittle tracery of time. I remember the time the hollow burn of attraction in my belly for PK never subsided. I was drawn like a moth to light. My wings were fragile. I was in mid-flight. I stood firm in my desire to know her. But we were in our 20s and involved in the precarious sense of identity, in the throes of discovering the depths of our beings, in the battling and wounding fields of our sexuality. I stayed. I did not flee as I had fled from danger in the past. Her hands held me up. She pulled me from the muddy waters. Her face told a story. Life was now something that no one is designed to go through alone. Breast cancer note, December 6, 2012. I texted PK, I've got cancer. I should have called her. PK picked me up. I said, we need to get married. PK looked at me and said, done. We rushed to the King County Courthouse in Seattle. City workers cheered us on. It turned out to be an auspicious day. The Outward Edge. You ask, why is my memoir about PK? And I answer, we were destined. The outward edge of youth pulled us together. We were hanging back and reversing out of harm's way, building our lives on Capitol Hill, building a quaint city, igniting our urban habitats with enduring life. Everything around us was wrong. The government was wrong, the men were wrong, the anti-Semitism was wrong, the racism was wrong, the sexism was wrong, the homophobia was wrong. We carved our underground existence. My life with PK leads me to believe a future exists when the worst events occur. The impossible turns possible. With her by my side, I have limitless companionship and consolation. PK is a walking edifice. She fell 30 feet on a construction job, and she is still standing. I have never seen PK run. I have never seen her run down a street or run away from anything or anyone. But I think I lived my most authentic life after the cancer. The cancer summoned me to configure my new visual vocabulary to savor my pensive joys and sweet sorrows. We were shapes made in time. We were fighting a new realm of family. 1 foot in the door of blood family, 1 foot out the door of blood family, and in the door of one own's chosen family. PK's family supported us. My family disowned me, then later opened the door. The anatomy of plenty. PK throws away things. I'm surprised she hasn't thrown me away after 45 years. Anyway, she throws things away, and she has a threshold of clutter, and like a shadow, when it's too close, the closeness of things to her cluttered childhood home, she throws it away. Throwing away things and writing a memoir is a kind of unearthing. Some Japanese artists leave one mistake on their pieces of art. Some etch a picture in sand and throw away the image with a rake. Some Navajo weavers leave a mistake in woven blankets and rugs. In the Jewish tradition, all things are not completed. The temple was never completed. Maybe this memoir of PK and me will grant us joint custody of the story. Ingrid Nunez in the novel The Friend says, "It is curious how the act of writing leads to confession, not that it doesn't also lead to lying your head off." A memoir is undressing the shame, the self-loathing, the doubt. The permission to express the true self behind the memoir is a facade. It is impossible to unveil the true self. PK was never afraid of the cancer, never ran away from it. She went into action mode. She never considered a different outcome. I wrestled with overwhelming feelings of helplessness and vulnerability, while PK settled in an attitude free of negativity. The business of being PK in the foggy space between death and rebirth in this 21st century of disorder and danger, in the natural rhythm of life, in the tragic ruts of time, the business of being PK is the business of being substantial and sustainable, the business of enduring love. As an artist of multiple styles and selves, a part of me wants to abandon this work. I'm always in a high voltage stage of wishing to abandon work. This abandonment is an inheritance of grief. The memoir grieves for the past. The memoir wishes for this writer to be young again, the writer, the poet, the illustrator, the artist, the citizen. Toni Morrison spoke about emotional memory and the Mississippi River in the same way I write about extreme inwardness and the Seattle concrete gray fog. She wrote, "All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back where it was." Writers are like that. To have an anchor like PK in a city like Seattle, surrounded by water and bridges, was perfect solidity in a world of impermanence, in a world crushed by anthropogenic climate change. The armor of silence between us, in bed, in the car, on the couch, at the dinner table, these moments were our expressive minutes. There is no X-ray of these silences to share with the world. The armor of silence private and revered. If we were dug up whole, we would be inscribed with Joan Didion's words, "We tell ourselves stories in order to live." If we were dug up whole, we would tell you that for 45 years, almost every night, we sat down at the dining room table and ate dinner together, eating together, sometimes in conversation, sometimes in silence, emboldened our love hold. Thank you. And thank you, everyone streaming and online. Thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was fabulous. Thank you. David K. Ray grew up in White Center, working class family. He graduated from Evergreen High School and the University of Washington, where he had a newspaper career. And he was a reporter in Central Washington. And then he was later a copy editor at the East Side Journal. I don't know if you remember that. And then you remember the Seattle Times. He was a copy editor there, right? And he has pursued poetry and short fiction over many years. He's a regular at the Port Townsend Writers Conference, and he continues to take classes and to write over the many years. And his writing process, he says, tends to be simple. 1, read. 2, write with abandon. 3, edit without mercy. Please welcome David K. Ray.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm just an old, lowly denizen of several newsrooms, and it's a real honor to be here with the Jack Straw program. I'm going to start with a poem from the anthology. It's inspired by a series of photos of some installations by an artist named Yanina Chappé, and she well, you'll have to decide for yourself about this. She has used many media. This has involved a lot of lycra. Her work is called The Sea and the Mountain, and in the anthology there's a web address. You can look at the photos if you find them interesting. And the lizard in this title is just a cameo. The lizard shows up in a number of my poems, but here he didn't make the body of the poem because he's sleeping. Lizard dreams of the sea. From under a wet log by her pond, a nymph summons her eggs into breath, as big and small as creation. They float and congregate, loom and wallow, and the smallest climb with love to nuzzle her neck. She remembers herself younger and red with desire, up her blue steps of longing, to a door blue and latchless, and her fruit picked too soon. But the goddess of waters has remarried the land, and now from its handsome hills and arrowy wildwood they come, pale and clustered, but round and dancing themselves ripe. On the sand, their enchantress shimmers in creamy silken opulence, violet clouds aloft in the distance, and one by one, the first set off, like children on calm, spring waters, drifting high and lucky across the lapping waves, never to know what purpose will find them, nor why they're at one with wherever they go. But newly awake to the salty air and hungry to begin, to be a beginning, they glow to one another far into the night. Kind of an environmental song about proliferation and the necessity, and we're done for if we ever lose it. Then there's the other side of that, which is just getting by. This is a sonnet, a 14-line love poem I wrote about my longtime best friend. It's called Survivor. Food stamps and her teepee got them through one winter. Under heavy white canvas, her and her boy. Armloads of split fur to bank the fire pit, encircle them in a paleo crackle and glow. Overhead a gray sky, silver nights, and a strong back of poles, enough for any load of snow. Darkness wheeled long and deep, but young dreams still overrode her regrets, and the pale, round mornings pointed skyward. A day's talk might curl in circles, guiltless as a child in the numb peace of a frozen backyard. She could kick herself, she tells me still, forever trading good teepee poles for a rusty old truck, as if to hold and haul a rubble of holy suffering. Now she can't believe her boy, past 40 and still no one else's, or me, my love, a stupid and lost cause against another winter's gnawing. Here's another poem about family. Mid-century docent's tour. Here is the actual hat in this snapshot from their box Kodak. You can see she had a lost kind of happiness. And from the hat itself, you know, she was small. I think she was maybe bigger in high school, basketball. She liked remembering that. And the woman teacher who said she should really go on to college. But the money, her father said, nah, just not enough for that. She left the farm, though, worked as a maid in the city, and got fired for I don't know why. During the war, she was a clerk at the phone company when she met my dad, a storekeeper in the Navy. I have his old peacoat here somewhere. But this is a vase from California where her new mother-in-law took her shopping and afterward called her a Swedish moron, which she never forgot overhearing. How small she was by then, but I couldn't even tell until I grew a little older, and it came to me that grown-ups didn't all look alike. Now up there is the table lamp, decorated with a golden rose, always in bloom, in memory, I supposed, of the earlier table lamp, I cannot ever to this day remember breaking. It was so long ago, yet I do remember how mad they were and how I learned forgiveness was a virtue reserved for Sunday mornings, while real trouble was a sticky stain only time could wear away. Here, under this plant of hers by the window, is the last surviving cereal bowl from when we switched from Wheaties, I think, to Total, which was new back then, between the coming space age and maybe Watergate. Or instead, I could be thinking of All in the Family, when Edith finally comes upon something that didn't freak her out, which was dying. They both liked that show, and sometimes I'd watch it with them on weekends when I was home from college. At the back of this quiet shelf is where she is now, her bronze metal cube with the ashes inside. Still her here in the old house where she was so happy after the kitchen remodel. The new goldenrod colored stove with the small warming oven on top before microwaves. At this point, I could show you her books and the rest, except not the one novel starring that shark, always out there, hunting, ever hungering for the innocent. But maybe to her, it brought back swimming in the bay with her cousins. Once the summer's day work was done, their nights of singing and laughing around the beach fires. Anyway, she had read that demon shark to death so many times that in her hands its paperback cover wore down to a great white tatter. And that book, well, we put it with her, now in ashes there among her own. Such a small thing among the many, it seemed, like her, too much to let go of. But even as I crumbled a little to stop myself from freaking completely out, I knew the sweet primal purity she had found in a story and felt so deeply and for so long, all of it a blessing of agony, and for me, too much to keep. Thank you. And to close, another nature poem, but one with a musical twist. And I wrote it for Avery, my son, who is past 40 now, but finally showing some signs of becoming someone else's. It's called, and he's an avid canoeist. There probably aren't that many places around this part of the state where he hasn't been in a canoe. It's called Nature Guide to the Great Unreal. I wish you a luminous lake, softly rippling in the twilight of this birthday card wilderness, nominally wooded, and a paddle pressed to your hand in this gliding canoe of wooden ribs, your rucksack at the bow with the Bean catalog best ever canvas slipcase for trombone. Embarking now to play out a dream of beauteous waters, a hard chill in autumn air. Your life turning a page to the opening of another wildland trombone season, the calling in of the forest's mighty trom beasts, rutting and huffing, bugling their majestic mating calls, the cliffs ringing with the ungainly struggle to reach high F, slides thrown out hard and all the way, lips buzzing long, wooing notes, cradled in grassy strings, while overhead the wheezy wildness of trombirds, popping their timeless migration of feathery snare beats and cymbals, crash, a stunning crash, crash of journey to the California headlands, the meeting of instinct and a solo horn, maybe a good backbeat bass, an amped guitar howling to the night like a starving dog across hillsides, no less real than a photographed moment shot in a balanced and forbearing light to achieve the right truth of circumstance, falling upon the strong and the lucky, of a predation DNA deep in an ill and heedless wind, tuned to the trumpeter swan. Its chorus cry, a throaty, relentless remembrance of the grander tromboner swan, its mighty blues flapping only in legend now, and aglow in campfire stories, the sparks wending into satin darkness toward the stars, which to a wolfish mind may seem highly overrated compared to the sun, in fact, as dodgy as night itself, but still they stare down as earnestly as history, those stars of the ownerless sky, where horned owls unfurl to hunt the wild silence of a rising moon, a ripening creation fully in the moment, but just out of reach. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Hana Choi is a short story writer, and she is a first-generation immigrant writer from South Korea. Her work has appeared in Epoch, Mississippi Review, and Craft Literary, and she has received support from Tin House Summer Workshop and the Bread Loaf Writers Conference. And her short stories have been nominated for the Penn Robert J. Dow Short Story Prize and named a finalist for the 2022 Missouri Review Editors Prize. That is a big deal, that Missouri Review Editors Prize. Whoa. And the 2023 Mississippi Review Prize. And she's also a recipient of a grant from Artist Trust, and she's working on her first novel. Please welcome Hana Choi.
Thank you, Priscilla, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for being here tonight. My name is Hana Choi, and I'm gonna read a short story. It's a story of a seance performed by a group of immigrants at a detention center. I hope you enjoy this story. Seance at Santa Maria Detention Center. We begin at 10:30 when they turn out the lights. We are 25 immigrant detainees in Dorm 3 of Santa Maria Detention Center. We're manicurists, nannies, orange pickers, cooks, medical assistants, and cleaning pros. And we have each brought what is most precious to us to communicate with the dead. We sit in a circle, our spines straight, our knees bent in neat corners. It is a clear Sunday, the moonlight painting us pale and earnest. One by one, we place our offerings in the center of the circle. We imagine a heap of extravagance, candied apples with stick handles, a tin of loose chamomile flowers, loud and impractical hats. For a moment, we forget we're prisoners. All but 5 of us have brought family pictures. We turn to Trang. We're concerned about the lack of variety, bashful about our consensus. Trang has taught us about the seance, the way it has been passed down in her family. She knows the methods, the protocols. We're relieved when she nods. She tells us it is not the variety, but the truth of our choices that matters. We nod. Pooja has brought her only pair of glasses. Natalia has brought her rosary. Marla has brought her last phone card with 20 minutes still left to use. Carmen has brought a business card. "It's my lawyer's," she says. "But is it really?" we ask. We know she cannot afford a lawyer. After her husband broke his spine at a condo job site, she was the one who supported her family. A family of 2 spiraling teenagers, a withered father, and a grandmother with lost memories. A family that was evicted just a week ago. "Have you even talked to this lawyer?" we press again. Carmen admits she has not, but says she will. Oh yes, she absolutely will hire this lawyer. It is her conviction that persuades us. We know only truth can be as foolish. Then at last we get to the most curious offering, a bundle of hair tied with a string. We turn to Big Afia. There are 2 Afias in our dorm. We call Big Afia because she is small and quiet and carries such heaviness. We ask her if it is her lover's hair. Big Afia nods. We smile. It is romantic. We all have read stories about girls snipping ringlets for their beloveds, who must be away for a while for dangerous and compelling reasons. Then, as our eyes go dreamy, Big Afia tells us her story. "They burned down our house" is how the story begins. We learn that they means vigilantes, those who hate someone like Big Afia, a woman loving a woman, a crime in the country where she was born. The whole of a partner was crushed by thudded chunks of her home. There was no time. Big Afia took what she could. A fistful of hair that still smelled like coconut oil and cigarette smoke. We're relieved when Trang begins to sing our song to initiate the seance. We know from Sophia's face, pink, sinking, that she's about to cry. It is she among us who has the most tender feelings, but some stories, they deserve more than fast tears. Trang's voice rises. It is the same song her great-great-grandmother sang to summon a village full of souls, all died in a demented war. It is the kind of song that bombs the memories, that floats like an invitation. We listen. When our dead dorm mates arrive, they look unsurprised, disapproving. "Took you long enough," Maria says. 3 whole weeks? Shanti grumbles. We tell them we are sorry. We tell them we have been in mourning, of course, but we also had a situation. Food poisoning, all of us. We saw the meatloaf was green, yes, but we had been blinded by hunger. We pulled our vomit in our hands and pitched it like a baseball. They put us in the hole for 15 days. With that story, we were forgiven. Both Maria and Shanti had been in the hole when they hanged themselves with bed sheets. Which brings us to our first question. Was that coordinated? Maria shakes her head. Shanti laughs her sweet booming laugh. It tickles us too, they tell us. But there aren't that many ways to do it in this place. No guns, no pills, no razor blades, no unbarred windows to jump out of. They took away all our sheets, Pooja grumbles. Thanks for nothing. We admonish Pooja, even though we know she shivers every night and has a bad knee. We do not want to annoy the dead because we are finally about to ask the question. We ask, is it better there? Better, they tell us, because they can taste the open air. They can smell the earth and hear the bustling leaves. It keeps you sane, Shanti says. Better, they tell us, because they can be with their families. They tell us deportation is a joke when you can transport yourself anywhere. 1 minute you're in Guatemala attending your cousin's wedding. The next minute you're in California watching your 5-year-old scoop and splash bathwater. I've never felt more alive, Maria says. Better, they tell us, because they can hunt bear. Bear is the guard who gives us too frequent, too slow pat-downs, thick fingers that like to linger, breath smelling of pancake syrup. Maria and Shanti tell us they tickled his feet for 9 hours, swapped his toothpaste with super glue, and lured a family of bees into his Corolla. The car drove into an oak, snapping his ribs into 8 pieces. They say whoops and chuckle. But we do not chuckle. We do not smile. We are in no mood. We have never admitted it, not even to ourselves, but all along we have wanted them to say, no. Death is a horrible void that is undeniably worse than your present suffering. We have wanted them to say, remain. Time for us to go, Maria and Shanti say to us now, their bodies thinning and ascending. When they wave at us, we can see the dark ceiling through their open palms. That's when Big Afia jumps out of the circle. She says, wait. Maria says something, then Shanti, but their voices are too faint to reach us. Take me with you, Big Afia says. They do not answer. Take me with you, Big Afia says again. She means it. We can tell by her wild, unguarded face. But that is how we know we are not ready. We are too weak. We are too tough. We are too hopeful. We are too aggrieved. We want to escape, but not too far. Not yet. Not yet. So what else can we do but gather our broken parts and rise, because the seance is over and we are alive. Thank you.
Thank you all. That was beautiful. So thanks for coming.